Guys, how's it going? It is day 4 of NaNoWriMo. Today I'm going to be doing the Your Story tag created by Library of Sarah. I will link her and the questions in the description bar if you want to do this tag as well. I think it's a great way to let new people to your channel know about the project you're working on for NaNoWriMo. So if I'm looking over here, that it means I'm looking at the questions. So anyways, let's get started. Question number 1 is to tell us about one of your stories that you have written. For instance, the plot, the setting, and the genre. So you guys know that I'm continuing working on The Sun Went Red. The genre is sort of historical fiction because it's based in the Victorian era, but it's not actually based on like historical events or people, so it's heavily leaning towards the fiction side of things. The setting is basically a rural kind of England town where there is Abernathy on one side, which is like the rich people that have all the nice houses and all the nice things, and they're part of society and they all hang out with each other. And then there's Old Bailey, which is this really podunk town where everyone is poor, they're not well educated, and there's a super high crime rate. Because the way you get into Old Bailey is you commit a crime and you're sent there. And you're tattooed when you come in. You get these 2 bands on your ring and pointer fingers in blue. And they're tattooed on you so everybody knows that you're from Old Bailey. And basically they're all just bad people. And right smack dab in the middle is the Mendoza mansion, which the master of this mansion owns both of these towns, and he controls the flow of trade and society and sends people to Old Bailey and everything like that. So that's where things start out. The plot is basically we start out with the master of this mansion, Obadiah Mendoza. I like to call him Dia. And he is sitting in the Abernathy Theater, which he owns. And these 2 straggler people come in, and they are obviously from Old Bailey. They have the tattoos, they're not very well dressed. They're 2 women, and they sit down and they come in when the show has already started, and he's kind of pissed off because he's like, what are these people doing here? Do they have tickets? I'm confused. And so he's aggravated and angry, which he kind of is all the time, but especially so right now. And the lights go down and everybody's just watching the show, and these 2 ladies start making out. And Dia is like, what is going on? He is outraged. He is a little turned on. He is just watching them and just so many emotions going on. And anyways, as things progress, he kind of starts to become obsessed with the darker haired one. There's like a blonde and a brunette. And he wants to know more about them. And so he's like going home in his stagecoach that night, back to his mansion, and he sits in his library with all these bookshelves around him and cigars and everything. He's like a perfect gentleman. And he spies these 2 ladies streaking across his garden, going from Abernathy, jumping the wall through the garden of the mansion, jumping the other wall and going to Old Bailey. So obviously they're from Old Bailey. They're trying to, go around the system because you're not supposed to go out of Old Bailey. And so he's even more pissed off, but still at the same time he's kind of like, oh, there goes that dark-haired girl and her friend, and now I know how to track them down. And yeah, so he's like, yay. The next day, he gets a letter from Mrs. Gray saying that her daughter is missing, but she needs to get a message to her saying that her father is gravely ill and doesn't seem like he's going to last the night. And her daughter's name is Adley Gray. And with some research into the nobility of Abernathy, he figures out that Adley Gray is the dark-haired girl that he just saw. So he decides to take on this mission to go deliver the letter to her, somehow try to track her down and find her, and get to know more about her, because he's become kind of infatuated and obsessed, and he is like never seen anything like this before. And so anyways, he sets off on this journey, even though he really likes to stay at home and doesn't like to interact with people or be social or anything like that. So this is kind of new for him to be going outside of his mansion. So I'll just leave it there. Question number 2. Is this part of Nano or a personal project? Like I've said before, I have written this story for NaNoWriMo 2012 and also for the April session of Camp NaNoWriMo. And now I'm continuing the story in NaNoWriMo 2013. So definitely not just a personal project, this is serious business. Question number 3 is, tell us about the characters. So I already kind of told you about Daya. He is one of my main characters. He is snarky and sardonic and very vain, and also incredibly beautiful and handsome and sexy. And he had sort of a lot of responsibility thrust on him as a small child, because when he was born, his mother died in childbirth, and his older brother, Robert, was very sickly, and his father was the mansion's magistrate. But they all quickly died within like 5 years of Daya's life. So now he's all alone, and he is basically the master of the house and these 2 towns. And so he has tons of responsibility, but he doesn't want any part of that. He's basically like, you know, royalty that just thrusts all of these things on kids. And so he kind of grew up without any love, but with lots of responsibility, and it's kind of jaded him, and he does his duty for the day and then just wants to be left alone completely. And then there's Adley Gray, who is a lesbian, obviously, and she's a lot like me, actually. She's got undiagnosed OCD and major depression, and she's very focused on reading and writing, and she's kind of a rebel. And then there's Dee, who is the lover of Adley, and she's very logical, she's an optimist, she's just an overall good person, but she is kind of lacking in emotions, whereas Adley is very passionate and overly dramatic and kind of this idealist, romantic person, but also a pessimist. So Adley and Daya are kind of like 2 sides of the same coin. They both have a lot of aspects of myself in them, and I feel like when they eventually come together, they will fill a lot of the holes that the other person has been missing in their life. Whereas Dee and Adley are kind of opposites, whereas one is really passionate and emotional, and one is very steady and stable, and so the opposites kind of attract as well. So I think both relationships are different and powerful, but necessary and interesting. So that's kind of the 3 main characters, and then there are other people that come along, but that would just be too many to count, so I will stop there. Question number 4, what is your favorite friendship from this novel? My favorite friendship would have to be between Adley and Stout. Stout is based on a dog I know in real life. I know this might sound stupid, but I work with dogs a lot, and my favorite one is Stout, obviously. And he's this black lab that has taught me a lot about staying present in the moment and unconditional love and just that kind of instant companionship and loyalty that you get when you meet this dog that just instantly likes you back. And he's taught me a lot, and I found that Adley needed somebody like that in her life too. Even though he's not going to be there for very long, he's going to teach her a lot. And I think he's one of the more valuable people in her life. Question number 5, what is your favorite romance of the story? I do like Dee and Adley's relationship, but I think it's going to be more fun to write Daya and Adley's relationship because it's going to be more toxic and passionate, and they do end up together at the end, so it's kind of my happy ending, so I do like that relationship. Number 6, the saddest scene. I can't really give this away because hopefully some of you guys will be reading this story, but the saddest scene is involves Daya, and 2 characters die. And what makes it so horrible is that Daya, we know, is like this horribly pessimistic guy and just really down on everything. But in this scene, he has started to turn over a new leaf, and he's decided to, start afresh with this new possibility, and he's gonna dedicate himself to be a better person. And there's so much hope, and he's at this high point in the story. And then this happens, and these 2 characters die, and now he is crashing down into the low point of the story. So I think the range of emotions that the reader will go on, and me as well, it just broke my heart, makes it more epically sad to go from really high to really low in that scene. Number 7, what is your favorite scene? I think my favorite scenes will be the ones where I write out the biggest plot twists, because I'm imagining the reader like throwing the book across the room and being like, what the crap just happened? And there's actually a lot of points like that in my story, where this person who you thought was like this is actually like this, completely different. And oh, I just really like that character. Oh, they just died. Oh, crap. So I think there's just a lot of different things going on, and I think it will really make me push through and write those scenes if I can imagine the reader just completely freaking out and having a nervous breakdown because of what they're reading in my story, which makes it exciting for me to watch it. So, write it. Blah. Number 8, the opening scene. I already kind of told you guys the theater scene, and I had an excerpt of this, like a really long one, that I read to you guys in another video. It's like the Sun Went Red excerpt that you can find on my channel. So, yeah. Number 9, where did the idea come from? I've said this before, and bear with me if you've already heard this a million times, but in February of 2012, I had this dream where this large lady who didn't have a name wakes up, and she has a shaved head, and she goes out into her garden to investigate this noise that she hears that woke her up. And like the sun is red, and she is looking out into her garden, and this little boy is eating her potatoes raw, and she's filled with anguish because her wife Dee just passed away. Like that is the original character name from the dream, and those were Dee's potatoes, and she starts yelling at this boy, and when I woke from that dream, I knew this was, like, it felt like a scene out of a movie. It was very vivid for me, and so I started writing it down and kind of exploring it. And this had never happened to me before, where I, like, wake up and start writing something down and have to continue, and I knew this was like a story idea for a book, and I spent a lot of time outlining and researching and coming up with character names and character maps, and even drawing some like setting stuff like that. But I only actually wrote like a page of actual writing. So I thought what I was doing was procrastinating, because the writing was actually really hard because it was slow. I was doing a lot of editing as I went and stuff, and I kind of abandoned the project because I thought, well, if I'm actually not getting anything down on paper and just doing all this procrastination stuff, what's the point? And so, I mean, you live and let learn. I didn't know that what I was doing was actually setting myself up to write. And then when November rolled around, I decided to participate in NaNoWriMo, and I actually did start writing on it. So, yeah. Question number 10. What is the theme of your novel? The theme would be Adley is searching for acceptance and unconditional love. Somebody that will love her no matter what actions she takes, no matter what has happened in her past. And that's ultimately what all of my characters in this story are striving for, I think. Question number 11. What needs to be fixed? Obviously, I need to go back and edit all of the thousands of words that I have already on the story and make it sort of look more like an actual story instead of just a jumble of words. And now that I have a clear outline, I can start putting it into chapters and realizing where the holes are that I need to fill and where I need to rewrite scenes and those kind of things. And ultimately what needs to be fixed is that I need just a computer hookup to my brain that will just take out the scenes in my head and put them into writing that's perfect and awesome the first time, but that's not going to happen. So I need to get better about describing the things that I see so vividly in my mind and make that into a full-fledged story. Number 12. What do you love about your story? I love that I've been writing this for so long and thinking about this so much that it has become a part of me, and it's also become something that identifies me with other people, like, oh, that sun went red girl, you know, that's kind of how I identify myself on the internet now. I like that I've been thinking about this and writing on it for so long that I feel like I actually will get this done, just because if I don't complete it, then I will feel like I've wasted this a lot of amount of time. I need a breath. This is a lot of talking. Like, I don't have any other ideas to be working on, so I feel like that's a good sign that this is actually going to get somewhere. And last question, number 13, do you plan to publish this novel? I do plan to publish this novel. I would like to publish it in 2014. That's one of my goals, and I need to edit it extensively and really make it into the story that I want it to be, which will be a ton of work, but I hope I can complete that. And I've kind of given up the dream of traditionally being published with this story anyway, because I don't feel comfortable signing over the rights to my book and having them change a lot, because I'm very controlling, and I absolutely have to have things the way that I originally thought of them. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to self-publish it, and that would make the process go even faster. And so, yeah, that's my dream. Anyways, if you want to do this tag too, that'd be awesome. Or if you want to leave me a comment telling me more about your story. And I will see you guys later. Bye.